Hey guys, welcome to another video from the Parrot Bros. Today we're going to be swapping over the turbo intake pipe, so this pipe here. I'm also going to be removing the airbox and putting a cone filter on. We're going to show you how to take it from this to this. Get a couple of pictures so you can see all the different pipes and stuff. I'll try and get it on video as well. So basically we're going to need to remove the N75 valve out of this pipe here, and then if you can see, wait for it to focus, the pipe, the larger one on the right with the two clips on, this one here, yeah, that one, that's coming out of the turbo intake pipe and up to this back pipe here. So all we'll do is we'll get it undone from the clip at the bottom, and then we'll deal with that afterwards. And then on the other side we've got the hockey puck, which goes down into the turbo intake pipe down there, and then we've got our recirc valve here, which we're going to be removing. Once that's all done, obviously besides taking it off from the top and the bottom, obviously the bottom you can't see yet, but I'll get a video in there once we've got it removed and you can have a look where it mounts onto the turbo. So yeah, I'll get started. So I just thought I'd show you quickly what we're going to be fitting. This is the SFS oversized turbo intake pipe. There you go, SFS. All the spouts are relatively similar, but we'll go over that a bit later on because I'm sure it's going to be a bit not straightforward to fit. And then obviously we've got a J&R cone fill, which I have cleaned, but it is used. I got it off my brother, so I'm not going to complain. So yeah, that is the car. Now tools wise, literally you just need a screwdriver, Phillips and Flat, and then I've just got two sets because then I can have one with a socket on to undo the Jubilee clips, and then I can have the other one for doing the airbox because you need a couple of extensions to get down to get the airbox off. Right, so to start removing the airbox, you've got a couple of options. What I'll do is I'll be undoing it here. I've got 7mm. Get it really loose because then it makes it a lot easier to get off. And then literally just squeeze and pull, and that'll get it off with the math. Like I say in all my videos, take the clips off so they don't get dropped. Pop it up there. Now this is mounted on 10mm, which are located in different places throughout. There's one down here down the side of the battery. There's one up here. And then make sure you unplug the math. Now that is what the best way to do is with a screwdriver, but it's just to prise that clip back, and that just lifts it, and then it just pulls off. Nice and straightforward. Make sure you keep that somewhere you can find it. Now the box is loose. Now what you need to do is obviously be mindful of the bolts. Try and get the bolts out if you can. This one's a bit of a pain to get to because it's right down the side of the battery, and you might struggle to get it. What you need to do is you actually need to lift and then pull it out towards the center of the car, because it's actually in a metal point here, which I will show you once I've got it out. Just enough to lift it out. And there's also a pipe which is in the wing which mounts into there to get airflow. So I'll get this out and then I'll show you. Right, so now is the time to remove it. So it should, with a bit of wiggling, come off. Now, it's not the easiest place to get to. Right, she's free. Remove the Jubilee clips that are loose. And what I've done is I've left this pipe here till I've got it up in the air so I can actually see what I'm doing. Taking my screwdriver method. If you can, remove the clip just so it doesn't drop down. Right. She's free. Right, let's do a comparison. Now it's off, you can see why they call it an oversized tip. Now as you can see, it is slightly further apart, but if you lay it over, they're actually relatively the same size. It's just the fact that the main body stays at pretty much 80mm till it gets to the bottom, and then it just tapers in obviously where you need to get it fitted. And all it is to do, the reason these are so good is because the volume of air that it allows in, that allows in easily double what this one does, which more air, which means you can put more fuel in, which means you can get more power. So that is the reason we're swapping it over. Now inside as well, I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. Let's have a look. You probably can't see very well, but basically inside, it's actually where it has these lines is actually corrugated on the inside as well, which will actually reduce airflow. Where it's hitting the corrugations, it'll actually stop the air, whereas inside this is nice and smooth all the way down, which allows again more airflow. So now we get the fun job of trying to fit it. So there you have it, guys. That is the turbo itself. Obviously it's worth checking. I've just taken a photo, I'll stick it up on the screen, just to check the core, make sure there's no damage on the fins, etc. It's also worth checking for play. There'll be ever such a tiny bit, but basically you just want to offer it in and out, and then offer it side to side, and there should be minimal play. This car's done 180,000 miles, so it's not in the best of shape, but it is still okay for the time being. Right, so moving on, you're going to need to remove the MAF out of the airbox. Now that is just 2 Phillips screws, one either side. We'll keep the J&R level, and that just pushes in relatively straightforward. So don't over tighten it, just make sure it's in there nice and snug. It's fine all the way around. Cool, right, let's move on. Okay guys, so now we're nearly ready to swap it over. Now I bought a new pipe. So this one was the perished, you can see there it's all starting to split. The perished one that when you squeeze it stays where it is. And that goes up onto the hockey puck. Now I've actually gone to the local motor spares shop and they've given me a bit of pipe which is suitable for oil. It's 3/4 inch hose. They just give me a rough same size. I might have to trim it down ever so slightly when we get to do it. And I've got all new Jubilee clips all round. Now the only other pipe that you may need, now this one, mine is okay, is the pipe that goes from the N75 to the actuator on the turbo, and it's actually inside here, as you can see where the 2 clean bits are. And basically I've just pulled that out. I've blown through it, checked that it's in good integrity, there's no issue with it. Because it's on the cold side, it tends not to get damaged, and it doesn't have too much, because obviously there's a valve there, it doesn't get too much oil in it. So that one's okay to reuse. So that'll be going into my N75, which is there, and into the turbo, which is there. So yeah, we'll get stuck in and we'll get it fitted. Right, so to start, all I've got is the Jubilee clip on the tip itself, and I'm just going to drop one over this as well because I'm going to slide that pipe in as well. And then pro tip, I forgot about this, is always make sure you wipe this clean, because look, see there's oil on there. I'm going to need to clean this quickly and clean it on the end of the turbo, because if you do it up and it's oily and then for some reason it decides to pop off, then you've got an absolute nightmare on your hands. So I'm just going to go and get some cleaner quickly and just give that a quick wipe inside of there and on the outside of the turbo spout. Now that's been wiped clean on the inside of this and clean on the spout of the turbo, we can go and push it on, and it will literally just push straight on. And then this pipe with the spout I'm going to put straight in, because otherwise it's going to be a bit of a nightmare to do later. I won't do it up yet, I'll just push it into the hole. Right, so let's get the tip on the turbo first, get that done up, and then I can fight with it at a later date. The hardest part about this is trying to get the Jubilee clip towards the edge, because obviously you want it biting down on the most amount of plastic, on the most amount of the turbo spout as possible. It's a pain in the butt. It's probably the hardest part. Also get the Jubilee clip to a point where you'll be able to do it up and it won't move out of the way of where it needs to be. Because the last thing you want to do is do it up and then not be able to get it undone again. Or have troubles getting it done up. Don't go too tight, because if you go over tight you will damage the Jubilee clip and then it will just pop off on its own. You just want to get a feel for it. And just as it starts to bite up, stop and just give it a wiggle. Make sure, you'll see whether or not the pipe will pull off, and if it won't pull off then you know you're ready. So that's where I am now. Just check, run your fingers all the way around the Jubilee clip and just make sure it's the same distance from the edge all the way around, and then try and give it a good tug. If it won't pull off then you know it's not going to blow off. So yeah, that is it fitted down the bottom, so that's the worst part done. Next we'll move on to the other bits, so we'll do the recirculating valve first. Just pop that in. Same applies again with that, don't go too tight, and then just give it a tug. That'll actually pull out, so I need to do a bit more, but not too much because I don't want to damage the clip. Let's try that. Yep, that's it, that's in. Right, onto the back breather pipe, which is that long one that I put in first. I'll do that up quite near the top because that had like like fins on it just to grip into the pipe, so we'll do that quite near to the top. Would also advise wearing clothes that don't have any zips, because you will need to get a bit close and personal with the car to be able to get in without hurting your back. So again, that one's in nice and tight, good pull, doesn't come out. Right, so now we're down to a couple of things. We're down to the actuator pipe that goes onto the turbo and into the N75 valve. We've got the N75 valve here. Now the longer of the two sides goes into the turbo intake pipe. Now I'll just grab the clips for that. We'll get the N75 on now. Pop that in. Right, just as it starts to get tight, just nip up, make sure it's pushed in, hold it in, and then just finish it off. Because any leaks in air will cause you an issue in running, so it is very important that you get every single one nice and tight. Right, so again, pull, doesn't come out, so that's good. So let's tackle the turbo actuator one now. I'll show you what I've got for that. So there's the pipe. Now with this, I'll see if I can show you. I've got a single-use clip, which you basically just get a set of side cutters either side of this shoulder here, and you basically squeeze it and that does up. And that's because the pipe's so small, you'd struggle to get a Jubilee clip small enough and to get enough purchase on it, plus where it is not particularly ideal because it's mounted sort of up under the turbo to the side, so it's a bit of a nightmare. So you need to get a set of side cutters and just squeeze either side of it, or if there is a tool, obviously if you've got the tool, happy days. So we'll just get that pushed on for the time being. It pushes on relatively easy. It's just getting the side cutters in there that's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt, and then you've got mount it up on the top onto the N75 valve. And then all that's left then is putting the puck in, which I'll probably need to trim this down a bit, and then fitting the air filter and the MAF. And then we're ready to go for a drive. So I'll just go and grab my side cutters, get that done up, and then yeah, we'll go from there. Right, now with this is a bit fiddly because it's quite tight, so if you can, if there's a little bit of oil on the inside of that, just rub it on the inside because it is quite a stiff push on, and then I'll just make it a little bit easier for you. There we go. Cool, so let's get that done, and then we're ready to move on to the fun bit. Right, so again, just make sure the clip's the same all the way around. It hasn't come off, which it's not. Quick pull, that's not going anywhere. This pipe I've actually rerouted over the top just because it was a bit hard to pull it over this one, and I didn't really want it obviously forcing down on this. So I'm happy with where that is. You might want to put it underneath. It's entirely up to you. All it does is it goes from the coolant round the top and into the overflow into your coolant bowl. That is that done. Now I'll just get the N75 valve plugged in. Now, for those of you that can see that and know a bit about it, obviously I've had to do a bit of a modification to it, because when I bought the car it was in limp mode. Let me just zoom in so you can see my not very neat handiwork. So what I've actually done is had to put a new cable in temporarily just to clear the fact that it was in limp mode, because basically I had a few issues regarding boost, which put me in limp mode. Well, it was in limp mode when I bought it, and it remained in limp mode until I fixed it. So I'll do a separate video discussing boost problems and N75 problems and things that may be worth checking if you're possibly in limp mode or you've got some boost issues. So keep an eye out for that. That'll come up in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, let's move on. Let's get this tip fitted. We'll get the air filter fitted, and then we'll go for a bit of a spin, see what it's like. You've already swapped the MAF over from your car, so that is your MAF. And then literally just pop it in there. Helps if you put a clip on to start with. Get that in there nice, and as like I said before, get it clipped near to the edge, but not too close that it could slip off. And just make sure it's the same all the way around. Again, not too tight. Just as you start to feel it going tight, just get gentle, and then that's not coming off of there. And then last thing we need to do is plug the MAF back in, and that is just a simple click. And then that's on. Make sure it's on. Just give it a little pull. Make sure it doesn't come off. And that's it fitted. Now the only thing I will do at some point is I'll make a little bracket just to stop this flopping around, because obviously that is really annoying. Hey guys, so that's the installation complete. What I've done is I've just knocked up a little bracket out of some old metal I had here, which is basically just a 90 on the bottom, bolted into where the air filter airbox was. Just a piece of straight up into the MAF, and then obviously I've got the air filter on. I haven't actually done it up yet, I need to do it up in a minute, but there's plenty of it to slide on, so it ain't going to go anywhere. And it just means it's solid now, ain't going to go anywhere. It's not going to damage anything. And then I will order a new the heat shield guard to go across there, and we'll get that fitted at a later date, do another video. But what I'll do is I'll get this done up, and then I'll come back to you and we'll do a start up and a drive. Okay, so now we're in the car. This is the first drive since fitting the tip and the air filter. Now, I haven't brought any tools with me, so fingers crossed all is well. Just make sure you're happy with what you're doing when you do it, if you don't bring tools with you. So yeah, we're just sitting at some traffic lights now. What I'll do is I'll just go for a little spin, get the car warm, and then we'll put it on the dual carriageway and see what it's like. It definitely pulls a lot harder, and it's just, now it's so consistent, whereas before it sort of, it put a lot of power down, then it hesitated a little bit, and then it put more power down. I think it was looking for air, because now as soon as you put your foot down, it just gets to the point, it just goes all the way around really consistently, right up to when you change gear. I don't know if you can hear the sort of the recircle, the depressurize when you change gear in the car. I can, so I'm sure the video picks it up quite well. The tip and the air filter, definitely worth doing. I mean, for what it cost me, I got both bits second hand for less than £100. I believe you can buy, not specifically this SFS tip, but you can buy a tip and a new air filter probably for under £100. But the difference is very noticeable, especially on a stage 1 mapped car. I would love to have put it on a dyno with the stock one, stock tip and the box, and then stuck this on and done a remap done a difference to see what it was like with and without, because I think it would have definitely added a few horsepower. But yeah, so that's it, first drive, really impressed with it, really enjoyed it. Little tunnel, I love that sort of dump noise sound, it's really funny. I've not had it for a while, obviously with the standard airbox it keeps the noise away from you. But yeah, I will be getting a shield, and I'll be doing a little video of fitting the shield and explaining why you need it and whatnot. And also, like I said earlier, we're going to do a video on boost issues and N75 valve and all that good stuff. But yeah, so if you've enjoyed it, please give us a like, we'd really appreciate it. Drop any comments if there's anything you've done, or if you enjoy your turbo intake pipe, tell people where you got it from, how much it costs. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to have that information. But yeah, again guys, thanks for watching. It's another video from the Parrot Bros.